Hi everybody, welcome to the final screencast for the LSSL 5360 Children's Literature class for the summer. This is Dr. Lassane again, and I want to go over the required reading list and talk a little bit about the blog entries that you will do for it. The first item on the required reading list, of course, is the textbook. Dr. Perry and I put our heads together a couple of years ago and decided that the $75 textbook was just too much. And so we created an online textbook. Here's the link to it. It's a Google Doc. When you get there, you'll find a table of contents, and I've talked a little bit about this under textbook requirements. The textbook is free. It's easy to use. If you discover something doesn't work, like a broken link, which happens sometimes, just alert me. In addition to the textbook, which is going to help you do things for the course, we've got required reading. These are books that everybody will read. They're available from most school and public libraries, and you do not need to purchase them. The picture books probably can be read if you sit on the floor of your local bookstore as well. So let me kind of go through them with you very quickly. I think I did when we talked about the syllabus. There are 20 books that are required. Everybody will read them because they represent some of the finest, some of the finest authors and illustrators working in the field right now. And they also represent a wide range of formats and forms and genre. So we've got fiction and nonfiction, and underneath that we've got realistic fiction and fantasy and historical fiction. We've got all kinds of things representative of children's literature here. And then after those 20 are required, I want you to have some choice. So we're going down here to the authors. One book from each of the authors, and there are 10 of them, so that brings your total up to 30 right here. So you'll read a book from Kwame Alexander, The Crossover, Rebound. He's got several books for children and young adults, and you certainly may read that. He's got a wonderful book of poetry as well. Just be sure not to read his adult books, and it's possible if you're not paying attention that you will encounter one of his adult books. Please be aware, though, I think after reading one or two poems, you will realize that these are adult books. They're basically poetry books, love poems. You'll read a book by Nick Bishop. Nick Bishop does lots of nonfiction about different animals, including endangered ones, and his photographs are just stunning. These are the kind of books kids love to sit and just pore over time and time again. You'll read a Jeff Kinney book. I imagine that will be Diary of a Wimpy Kid or one of the books in that series. You'll read a nonfiction book by Melissa Sweet. She's got, for example, Balloons Over Broadway, the story of how the Macy's Day Parade came to be balloons instead of puppets, which it was originally. So look for her nonfiction. You will also, I think, want to bookmark her website. She writes a lot about nonfiction and how to use it with kids, and it's really, I think, a good blog for you to look at. You'll read a book by Mo Willems. That could be Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus, which I think most of us know. It could be one of the Elephant and Piggy books. He's got a ton of books from which you can choose. You'll read a book by Sharon Draper, one of the, I think, one of the best African-American authors out there right now. And tend to read toward the children. She also has some young adults. So again, make some decisions about whether or not the book is going to be appropriate for kids. You'll read a book by Shannon Hale. I hope you select one of her graphic novels that she does with her family. Rapunzel certainly being one of them, but she's got a new one called Real Friends, which is quite good. You'll read a book by Christopher Paul Curtis. The Watsons Go to Birmingham, 1963, was his first book. It won a Newbery and a Coretta Scott King honor book. His second book won the award, not honors, but the Newbery and the Coretta Scott King. He really is a wonderful author, and his books, I think, are terrific. Carmen Lomas Garza is next on your list, and she writes an awful lot about Hispanic culture. She comes from the Rio Grande Valley. She's got a book called Magic Windows about the paper cutting. She's got books about my family and how it's different, and most of her books are bilingual, so I really like those. And finally, you'll read a book by John Sheska. Everybody needs to have a laugh, and heaven knows he provides them for us. His latest series is called Frank N. Stein, and it's chapter books, and it's about kids who invent and create things that sometimes get out of control in their laboratory. So those are the books that you're required to read for class. Once you've read them, then you're going to blog about them. And so I will talk a little bit about the blogging. So in LiveBinders, there's a subtab called Blogging Required Books, and it gives the directions for doing it. You're going to write a blog entry for each of those 20 books that you read, and then the 10 books that you select from those authors. So 30 blog posts total. You can create a blog site. If you have a blog site you created for another course, you can certainly use it here and just add to it. If not, please create a blog. You can use Blogger, you can use LiveJournal, WordPress. That's up to you, the platform. At the blog, you're going to write about the books you've read, and your blog entries need to have the following things: a bibliographic citation using APA format. I'm not holding you to alphabetized by author here because you're going to be writing about the books as you read them. You're going to include the cover of the book. The JPEG should be at least 300 by 300 DPI so it doesn't get pixelated when you put it in. You're going to write a summary of the book, and then some commentary on the strengths of the book using the criteria from the textbook where it's applicable, and then connections, book trailers, other books on similar themes, other books by the author or within that genre, teaching ideas, etc., etc. These books are going to be turned in groups, so you're not going to turn in like one and then the other. I'm not going to look at your blog 30 different times. The due dates are here at LiveBinder. They're also going to be on your syllabus, and they'll be at Blackboard as well. So here on the tab called Due Dates, or the due dates for all the assignments for the course, you can see that the first things that you're turning in are your textbook posts. The textbook will read quickly, and I think you'll be able to keep up with these. Then your required reading list. Those are the Caldecott list, the Geisel list, etc., etc. You're going to turn in lists 1 and 2 together, then 3, then 4 and 5. And finally, in the semester, are your required reading posts. You're going to turn them in, not in 3, as I said before, but in 2 sections. So the first 15 books, and then the second 15 books. And that takes us to the end of the semester. It is a quick one, as you know, during the summer. So I apologize for the haste with which you're going to have to do things, but it's the best we can do. And actually, we used to do this in a 5-week course, so it's kind of leisurely to have 10 whole weeks instead. Please mark these due dates down now. Please understand I don't take late work usually. And in the summer, it's really difficult to take late work because as quickly as you're turning them in, I need to turn them over and get them back to you. So when you turn in your textbook posts on June the 8th, I'm going to do my darndest to get them back to you by the 10th, maybe the 11th at the outside. But I want you to have them back so that when you do the second set, you've got any corrections you have to make. The same thing is true with the required reading list. When you turn in those first couple, I will comment on anything that might need to be tweaked for the next one. So I'm going to try within 48 hours to get things back to you. Like you, I have a busy summer. I'm going to be on the road quite a bit, doing workshops and presentations, but I'm taking my computer and I will try to find any time that I can to do the grading because I think it's important to get those things back to you with any comments you need. If what you turn in is good, I will probably just say something like, "Good work, Dr. L." Don't think that I'm just kind of brushing you off. It's just that if I don't need to correct anything, I'm going to tell you you're doing fine and you should just go on to the next one knowing that you did everything correctly and that I appreciated your work. So I hope that all of these screencasts have given you some insight into what it is that you're going to do for the course. If you look at the tab screencasts, you'll see that each of the screencasts kind of covers important things for the course. So make sure that you take a look at those, view all screencasts, read all documents before you get started with the assignments. I think that will be best. Welcome to the class. I really hope that you are successful, and I hope especially that you'll find some books that you love.